We got Steven in Naples, Florida. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, how you guys doing?
You're on with Don and Matt. What's going on?
Can you hear me? Okay, I put you on speaker. It's easier for me to hear you.
No,
Okay.
you're good.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, well, I hope I can present a good argument because I've been thinking about it all week.
You want to put money on it? I'm wondering if I should start taking bets on this stuff and then donating the money. But go ahead. I'm pumped.
Okay, well, we'll see. Okay, would you agree with this statement? If God exists, he could never reveal himself if he desired.
No.
No.
Okay, why not?
Well, I exist and I can reveal myself. Why can't God?
No, if he desired not to reveal himself, he could never do that. If he exists.
Oh, that's not what you said.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
So let me see if I understand this. If God exists and desired not to reveal himself, then he could not reveal himself.
He wouldn't have to unless he wanted to.
See, now I'm even more confused. All right, so let's state this. I'm going to let you state this one more time.
Okay, if God exists, I'm going to reword it. He wouldn't have to reveal himself unless he desired.
Okay, so we haven't defined God, but if we run with, the God of classical theism or some normative usage of God, all you're saying is that God only has to reveal himself if he wants to. And
yeah.
Yes, okay. I have no problem with that.
Okay. And then do you also agree that he could reveal himself to select people if he chose to?
If we're going with the normal use of God, yeah, sure. He could, sneak into your bedroom at night and reveal himself to you and not tell anybody else about it.
Mm-hmm. So I think I'm one of those people who he revealed himself to in a very, crystal clear. He basically gave me lots of proof. He was like, yep, I revealed myself to you. And, you guys always talk about
I'm wondering,
looking for,
I'm going to ask what proof he gave you.
Yeah, I'll get to that.
Okay.
You guys always talk about, if you're a theist, you have to give proof. And I just wanted to point out the fact that, if God exists, he's probably not going to just give everyone proof because...
Why? No. I agree that he doesn't have to. Now you're saying he probably wouldn't, and I want to know why he probably wouldn't.
Well, let's go with the basic belief that a lot of people have, which is life is kind of a test for morality or, good and evil, that kind of thing. Wouldn't him revealing himself defeat the whole purpose of that?
No.
If that was true?
No. First of all, I'm not convinced that a lot of people necessarily, or, there probably are a lot of people, because a lot doesn't mean anything, who think that way. But what people think about God and what God is are, I would hope you would agree, completely independent. But your question here is, if all of life is a test to see if you qualify for heaven, then God revealing himself would violate that test, because now everybody would know that a God exists, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you think God revealed himself to you, so doesn't that invalidate your test?
Yes, it does. So right now,
okay,
I'm living my life, but the purpose of my life is kind of meaningless other than to share what I experience with other people.
Sure. So let me ask you this. Do you believe there's a Satan?
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, I will talk. I had two experiences. One was with an angel. One was with something demonic. And I actually called a year ago, and I told you about the demonic one.
Okay. How could there be something demonic? Where did this demonic thing come from? Did God create it?
Well, according to the Christian, I don't know if it's true or not. He created all the angels, and then Lucifer had free will and he rebelled or something.
So what you're saying is that some agent who knew very well that God existed and knew very well of God's power rebelled and rejected God.
Maybe I don't know.
Well, do you think that's possible? Do you think it's possible for God to stand here and reveal himself to me, and for me to still say, no, I won't serve you? Mm-hmm. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay, if that's possible, then that is a defeater for your view that God revealing himself somehow invalidates the test. Because It's not about whether or not you believe there's a God. It's about whether or not you're willing to follow and obey a God and do the things necessary for salvation. So it's possible for God to reveal himself to everyone, and then people would still be able to choose and say, no, I don't want to serve you because you're a moral thug.
Okay. I guess so. Maybe.
I don't know why not.
Yeah.
I mean,
that kind of makes sense, I guess.
If God showed up and revealed himself to me right now, I would certainly believe that there was a God, but that doesn't mean I would follow or serve or worship. As a matter of fact, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't be an atheist anymore, but I wouldn't be a follower of that God.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, God is kind of a mystery, but.
Yeah, well, so you say God's a mystery, and you don't have much in the way of answers, but you also said that God came down and gave you all kinds of proof in Revelation to you. Well, what did he reveal, and what proof was there?
Okay, well, I already kind of told you that I saw like a demonic-looking thing, so that was...
How did you determine... Okay, what is demonic-looking, and how did you determine what it actually was you saw?
Yeah, we actually had the same conversation last year. And
did we get anywhere?
Yeah. Not really.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have a good reason to think that it was actually a demon or demonic or whatever the hell that is?
It was terrifying, and it was...
I've seen lots of terrifying things.
Energy around it.
You could sense energy around it. How's that work?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about sensing until it happened, but after it happened, now I can it's like a sixth sense type thing. Like I feel stuff.
Have you had this? Have you had this tested so that you could verify that it wasn't just a delusion?
How can you test something supernatural?
Well, that's not my problem. See, your very question defeats your position because you became convinced, and now you're saying there's no way to test it, which means you are willing to become convinced of things that you can't test, which is definitionally unreasonable.
If it was just the demon story and that's all I had, maybe you'd be right. But then the angel is a little bit more convincing, I think.
Okay, how do you test for that?
Well, do you want me to tell you the story?
No, I don't really care about the story. I just want to know how you can test to confirm that your conclusion about the story is true.
Okay, so do you believe that anecdotal evidence can help prove things?
I wouldn't dismiss anecdotal evidence, but I don't think it's sufficient.
Okay. Well, the angel...
It depends. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about, because if you tell me that your name's Stephen, then I'm willing to believe your name's Stephen, because there's not any risk of you, if it turns out it's not Stephen, my worldview has to change. If you tell me you saw an angel, I'm not just going to take your word for it.
Yeah. And again, I use the word angel, but it's just hard. I'll do the story. It's real brief.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, I was going to go to work one day. I was sitting down in the lobby of the hospital where I worked, and in my head, I was kind of having a conversation with God. I don't know. The conversation went something like this. God asked me a question. He said, "What should you do in any situation?" I responded, "You should do the will of God." Then he asked me, "What if you don't know what the will of God is?" I responded, "You should do the most good for the world."
Why wouldn't you hang on, Stephen. I apologize for interrupting. But if you're sitting there having a conversation with God, and he asks you, "What if you don't know what the will of God is?" Why wasn't your answer, "You'll tell me," just like you're asking me questions right now?
Like I said, I wasn't sure I was having a conversation with God.
Okay, until you're confident that you're having a conversation with God, why care?
Well,
label it then.
This is why I think it was a conversation with God. As soon as I answered that you should do the most good in the world, this elderly African-American guy walked up to me, he looked me directly in the eyes, and he said, "Do you know how many people don't do that?" And, I didn't speak anything verbally. Nothing was being said out loud. And then he walked away, and that was the end of the conversation. And I was just kind of stunned. So after I got up and looked around, he was gone. But then afterwards, and I thought about it, I was like, oh, maybe, that was God or an angel or something. But he clearly had, he clearly read my mind somehow. It was like telepathy. And I know that amongst that by itself doesn't.
We're done, Stephen. Stephen, I apologize,
What?
but we're done. Okay.
Why?
You think you're having a conversation with God, but you're not sure. But you become convinced, and now, so you've appealed to demons or demonic presences that were terrifying. You've appealed to angels. You've appealed to a conversation with God, which you have no way of verifying. And now you're going out to some kind of telepathy or something, rather than just saying God spoke through this elderly African American. Now it's telepathy. You are clearly someone who will reach to anything that has ever been proposed as a potential explanation for something that you don't understand or know. And until you find a way to verify and demonstrate that you have reached a reasonable conclusion, conversation on this subject is pointless.
Well, can I just get to my main point?
You spent all this time, you haven't got to your main point? Okay.
Okay, so the main point I was going to say is a lot of people who have near-death experiences, they basically say that they see and experience very similar things. So do people who claim they were abducted by aliens. Do you believe people are being abducted by aliens? You do believe that? Yeah, and I know you always use that argument. I was going to say, well, this is what I would say.
Well, at least you're consistent in accepting every potential bullshit explanation out there. I mean, so the thing is, now we're to near-death experiences. Do you know that we can test for those?
They're trying, but we really can't if they're actually supernatural.
No. You don't get to label something supernatural until you can demonstrate that it is and define what supernatural is. Okay. There are ways to test for this, and the tests have repeatedly failed. You don't get to label failed tests as, well, we're trying, but it's supernatural.
Yeah. Well, I thought we started this conversation that if God existed and it was supernatural, he could, you can't put it in a test tube, right?
Well, first of all, no. We didn't start this conversation agreeing on anything remotely like that. The term supernatural wasn't in the initial one, and we didn't talk about test tubes until you just said it. What I agreed is that if God doesn't want to reveal himself, he doesn't have to. You can't respin what we agreed on at the beginning.
Okay. Well,
I don't know, Don, did you have anything to add? No. Okay, we're gonna move on. Thanks, Stephen.